Picture holding a quarter that quietly slipped through mint inspections, now commanding thousands at auctions decades later. In this episode, we're peeling back the layers of three U.S. quarters, 1993, 1994, and 1965, to uncover the quirks and surprises that have turned everyday change into prized collectibles. Our first stop takes us into the world of the 1993 Washington quarter, a coin whose subtle missteps and design twists have captured the attention of seasoned numismatists and casual finders alike. The story of the 1993 Washington quarter begins with the U.S. Mint.
If you love rare coins and crazy coin facts, make sure to subscribe to Official Coins. Smash that like button, share this video with your friends, and if you enjoyed it, drop a comment below and let us know what coin you like the most. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a video when we upload. Thanks for watching. This is Official Coins, where coins aren't just money, they're history.
Had served for nearly half a century. By the early 1990s, rising demand for commemorative silver dollars and clad coins for circulation put pressure on the mint's production lines. When the Philadelphia and Denver facilities struck the 1993 quarter, a slight reduction in the relief height of Washington's profile and the eagle on the reverse went unnoticed during quality checks. That minor adjustment, however, created a subset of coins with softer details, an unintended departure from the crisp lines collectors expect. In the context of minting history, this anomaly stands out as one of the more intriguing mid-production variations of the modern clad series. Identifying a valuable 1993 quarter requires a keen eye. On the obverse, look for a notably shallow depiction of Washington's hair strands and a faint edge to the motto. The rim may appear smoother than usual, almost as if it were lightly buffed after striking. Turning the coin over, the eagle's feathers lack the usual sharpness, and the talons grasping the arrows can seem partially merged. These soft strike examples are surprisingly scarce when compared to the millions of standard-issue pieces minted that year. Any specimen exhibiting these characteristics likely belonged to a test batch or a misaligned die set, making it a must-have for collectors hunting errors and varieties. When it comes to market value, the 1993 soft strike quarter typically performs well among error enthusiasts. Recent auction records show that one Philadelphia mint specimen in Mint State 63 sold for $350, while a higher-grade example at Mint State 65 fetched $620. On the Denver side, similar pieces have crossed the block at prices ranging from $300 to $580, depending on eye appeal and strike quality. In one standout sale, a PCGS-certified MS-66 coin with exceptional luster earned $1,250, setting a benchmark for condition rarity among these misstrikes. Tracking these auction outcomes reveals a steady uptick in demand over the past 5 years, particularly as error coin collecting has expanded beyond niche hobbyists. Beyond market figures, the 1993 quarter carries stories that give it extra charm. A handful of these coins turned up in circulation in small towns across the Midwest, passed along casually in pocket change before a local dealer spotted the unusual softness in the design. Word spread among collectors' clubs, and soon regional shows were featuring the softest quarter of 93 on display. One account even describes a farmhand discovering a soft-strike Denver quarter in a jar of dimes and quarters, leading to an impromptu swapping frenzy among neighbors. These anecdotes underscore the thrill of stumbling upon what seems like an ordinary coin, only to find it hides a minting secret. Condition plays a huge role in determining the value of a 1993 Washington quarter error. In heavily worn, circulated grades, soft strike examples might bring in $50 to $100 simply for being more than a dime a dozen regular issue. Those retaining much of their original luster in Mint State 60 to 62 range climb toward the mid-hundreds. As the grade rises, so does the rarity. Pieces certified at MS 63 and above command anywhere from $350 to $1,250 based on visual appeal and strike clarity. Collectors should also keep an eye out for coins that combine the soft strike trait with other minor errors, double dies, die chips, or planchet flaws, as these hybrids can exponentially increase the market value. Before we shift our focus to the next chapter in this quarter trilogy, consider the thrill of recognizing a rare misstrike right in your existing collection. That single discovery can transform a casual hobby into a passionate pursuit. In the upcoming segment, we'll turn our attention to the 1994 Washington Quarter, where a different kind of mint anomaly created a buzz in numismatic circles and inspired fresh waves of interest. Keep your magnifiers at the ready. More surprises lie just around the rim. Now, let's shift our gaze to the 1994 Washington Quarter, a coin that quietly slipped past one of the mint's key design signatures and became an instant legend among collectors. The story begins in early 1994, when both the Philadelphia and Denver mints were hard at work producing the standard-clad quarters destined for pocket change and rolls alike. A year earlier, the mint had added the designer's initials, FG, to the obverse, just below Washington's bust, to honor John Flanagan's sculptor work. In Denver, however, a handful of dies were inadvertently prepared without that tiny FG stamp. Nobody noticed until collectors started comparing rolls side by side and realized something was missing. That simple oversight transformed an otherwise routine issue into one of the most sought-after modern errors. Spotting a no FG 1994 D quarter requires a patient eye and a healthy dose of skepticism when you first peek at a fresh roll. On a normal 1994 quarter, those two letters sit neatly tucked under Washington's ribbon, almost blending into the hairline. With the error die, the area appears unnaturally smooth. No initials interrupt the design flow. Equally telling is the fill in the wreath feathers on the reverse, which often looks slightly heavier on error pieces thanks to the die preparation process. Since only a few dies lack the initials, surviving specimens are exceptionally rare, making even worn examples stand out in any collection. Auction houses began taking notice around 2008, when the first verified no FG pieces hit the block. A clean 58 Australian dollars coin sold for $4,750, surprising both seller and buyer alike. In more recent years, mint state error pieces have fetched eye-popping sums. An MS-63 specimen traded hands for $12,400, while an MS-65 coin, remarkably, still retaining original luster, reached $32,000. Proof-like specimens from 1994 also exhibit the missing initials, and those have commanded even higher prices. One PF66 Cameo example achieved $45,000 at a specialty error coin sale. These numbers illustrate how a tiny absence on the obverse can create a mountain of demand among numismatists chasing true rarities. Behind the market figures lies a handful of fascinating tales. One veteran collector recalls finding his first no FG quarter while rolling through 50 bank-wrapped sets, a morning routine that yielded a lifetime treasure. Another account involves a coin shop owner who didn't believe the hype until a second error piece arrived in a single customer lot. He famously joked that Denver must have shipped an entire undercover batch. Local coin shows in the late 2010s began advertising spotlight on the missing FG, drawing crowds eager to compare magnifiers and share notes on die varieties. These shared experiences reinforced the error's aura and helped cement its status among modern classic rarities. What elevates the 1994 D no FG beyond mere curiosity is how condition influences its allure. In heavily circulated grades, say VF20 to XF40, a missing initials coin might fetch around $2,000 to $3,500. That's still a hefty premium over face value, but a relatively accessible entry point for dedicated error aficionados. Jumping up to 50 to 58 Australian dollars grades, values climb toward $8,000 to $15,000, reflecting the nimble balance between eye appeal and rarity. Once you hit uncirculated MS60 and above, each numerical grade gain can mean a doubling or more in price, with MS63 coins comfortably in the $12,000 to $18,000 bracket. MS65 examples, nearly flawless apart from the missing initials, regularly breach the $30,000 mark at auction. Collectors should also be aware of hybrids, coins that combine the missing initials with secondary errors like die cracks or planchet laminations. One particular MS62 no FG example featuring a prominent die crack through the eagle's wing sold for $22,500, effectively illustrating how two distinct errors can amplify each other's appeal. On the flip side, any cleaning, Harsh contact marks or unattractive discoloration can blunt demand, pulling a coin's realized price down by 20 to 30% compared with a pristine counterpart. As always, certification by a reputable grading service is critical. Uncertified specimens often languish in private collections, unseen by the wider collector community. A less celebrated but equally intriguing aspect of the 1994 portfolio is the experimental off-center strikes that occasionally surface. These are not tied to the missing FG die, but occur when a misaligned planchet slips partway through the striking chamber. A mild one-third off-center 1994 quarter might trade for a few $100s, while extreme off-centers of over 50% can reach into the low thousands. Though not nearly as market-shaking as the no FG, these errors add another layer of excitement for anyone examining modern quarters under magnification. Beyond values and varieties, the 1994 Washington quarter error reminds us why coin collecting remains so compelling after all these years. In a rolled pack destined for mundane commerce, a single misstamped piece can surface and rewrite expectations. It's a testament to how human oversight, even in a highly automated mint, can produce anomalies that defy mass production. For collectors, every roll opened carries a glimmer of possibility. That one quarter could hold the key to a story decades in the making. As you reflect on that, consider running a fresh roll through your favorite magnifier. You might uncover not only the classic no FG, but also lesser-known die states or planchet oddities that deserve recognition. And when you're ready, we'll turn the page to our final chapter, the 1965 Washington quarter, a coin whose place in U.S. monetary history was defined by change, both literal and figurative. Until then, keep your collector's instincts sharp. Rare finds often hide in plain sight. Sliding seamlessly from modern mint errors into the realm of mid-century monetary changes, the 1965 Washington quarter stands at a crossroads of history and innovation. Struck in the wake of a silver shortage and changing legislation, this quarter embodies both a departure from tradition and the unexpected quirks that arise when minting processes are overhauled. Whether you're an enthusiast tracing post-Roosevelt silver exit or a collector hunting rare die varieties, the 1965 issue offers a textbook case of value hidden in plain sight. The transition to copper-nickel clad composition in 1965 marked the first time a Washington quarter carried no silver content since its introduction in 1932. In response to soaring silver prices and mounting public hoarding, Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1965, effectively ending the use of 90% silver in dimes and quarters. The mint rushed to adapt, producing over 1.6 billion clad quarters in Philadelphia and Denver combined that year. That abrupt shift created a tight production window and set the stage for a handful of distinctive errors and experimental die states. Identifying markers of a 1965 quarter begin with its layered core, a pure copper center sandwiched by outer cupronickel layers. On genuine pieces, the edge reveals a fine join line rather than the singular silver tone seen in earlier issues. However, spotting rarities requires examining subtle die flaws rather than composition alone. Collectors look for faint die cracks radiating outward from Washington's bust, double dies that thicken the motto, "In God We Trust," or filled die instances where protected recesses hold tiny metallic debris, softening details on the obverse or reverse. Among the rarest 1965 varieties is the filled die low mintage struck on trial experimental brass or other planchet offcuts. Though federal records hint at a handful of copper zinc or nickel blanks tested privately, only a couple of confirmed specimens have surfaced in collector circles. One such off-metal quarter, featuring a pronounced yellowish hue and a sting of mint-state luster, sold for $72,000 in 2018 at a major error coin sale. That price underscores how experimental off-metal issues from a high mintage year can eclipse traditional rarities in collector esteem. Standard clad errors also command attention. In 2015, a PCGS-graded MS-64 1965 quarter with an extreme die crack stretching from the rim through core sold for $2,300. Newer finds of double die obverse examples, in which Washington's hair ribbon appears subtly shadowed, have realized $1,800 to $4,200 depending on grade. Even rotation errors, where a coin is struck on an inverted die, appear in varying degrees. A 45-degree rotated quarter in mint state can fetch around $850, while a full 180 rotation at MS63 commanded $3,400 at auction. Beyond auction numbers, the 1965 quarter has seeped into collector lore through curious discoveries. One dealer recounts a jar of mixed-date quarters from a deceased estate sale that yielded three 1965 filled die specimens among common issues. Another story tells of a numismatic researcher photographing clad and silver issues side by side, only to notice minute planchet inconsistencies that sparked a multi-year hunt for transitional blanks. These anecdotes illustrate how the coin sits at the intersection of necessity and novelty, carrying stories as layered as its metal core. Condition plays a defining role in determining a 1965 quarter's value, perhaps more so than for modern clad issues. In heavily circulated grades, even an error specimen may only command $25 to $75 above face value, reflecting the sheer volume minted. Shift your eye to 50 to 58 Australian dollars examples, and filled die or minor double die quarters routinely reach $250 to $800. As coins approach mint state, values accelerate. MS-60 pieces start around $650, MS-63 near $1,500, and MS-65 can climb beyond $3,000 for those with sharp strikes and full luster. Collectors often overlook post-1964 errors, assuming modern clad coins lack the dramatic appeal of Silver-era issues. Yet the 1965 quarter's place in numismatic history as a pivot year makes its anomalies especially alluring. A single well-preserved quarter with both a filled states and a rim inward die crack can outshine a common Morgan dollar in terms of collector excitement, and often in price. The rarity of such hybrids means that when one does surface, bidding wars erupt, pushing realized values 2 to 3 times higher than for standalone errors. Beyond error chasing, tonal and surface rarity add layers of collectability. Brilliant uncirculated clad quarters sometimes develop attractive blue-gray toning when exposed to sulfur compounds or environmental elements over decades. A toned MS-64 1965 quarter with rainbow hues around the periphery sold for $1,200 in a private sale, with bidders drawn more to its eye appeal than the die state. Conversely, unattractive circulation-induced scratches or cleaning can tank a coin's value by half or more, emphasizing the premium placed on untouched surfaces. For those curating a specialized Washington quarter collection, the 1965 piece fills both historical and error niches. It represents the end of one era and the beginning of another, the last gasp of silver-adjacent design sensibilities and the first full-clad experiments. Seeking out certified examples from PCGS or NGC ensures authenticity and grade confidence, an essential step before investing substantial sums. Private party trades occasionally yield bargains on lower-grade errors, but rigorous authentication remains paramount when chasing higher grades. Ultimately, the 1965 quarter teaches a broader lesson about the numismatic landscape. Change often catalyzes opportunity. When shifting from silver to clad, the U.S. Mint opened a narrow window for anomalies that will never repeat at the same scale. That moment finds expression not only in official records, but in the handful of misstruck, off-metal, and experimental planchets that slipped into circulation. In examining a single 1965 quarter, you're touching a tangible artifact of economic policy, technical adaptation, and accidental artistry. As we wrap up this journey through 3 decades of minting oddities, it's clear that rarity isn't confined to centuries-old coins or precious metals alone. From the subtle softness of a 1993 Ms. strike to the missing initials on a 1994 Denver die, and the post-silver transition curiosities of 1965, each quarter tells a story that transcends face value. Whether you're hunting error varieties at local banks or studying auction catalogs, remember that every roll has its secrets, waiting for the patient eye. In the end, these coins do more than fill holes in a binder. They connect us to the moment when human oversight, economic necessity, and minting technology converge. Keep your magnifier handy, trust your instincts, And never underestimate the potential of that ordinary silver-toned disc in your pocket. Because sometimes, the most extraordinary finds are hiding in everyday change.